Okay, so we're going to do a quick wireframe for our world religions project that we're going to end up building. And so I'm here in the XD open page, the welcome page. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a web layout, website piece. And what you're going to see is you're going to see the board for our project. And I'm going to go ahead and save this right away. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to create a folder for this on my machine. And I'm just going to go ahead and save it to my desktop. You should save it to your U drive. And I'm going to create a new folder for this, and I'm going to call this World Religions Project. And this one is going to just be we're going to call this the web page. Actually, let's call it World Religions, and we're going to call this web, and go ahead and click save. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate. So this is what's called the artboard right here, what I'm circling around, and this is one of my artboard pieces. And I want to create 3 different artboards to which we can create new ones. So I'm just going to click the Option or Alt key, and notice that our little helper comes up. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So if you hit Control or Command minus and plus, you can zoom out, and click OK there. And then I can drop this down, and I'm just going to create 3 pages from which I can start wireframing. So this first page here where it says Web 1920, I'm going to rename that, and this is going to be what's called our splash page. That's going to be what's like our home page, like what people would come to. And then I'm going to come down here to where it says Web, the second one, and this one's going to be, call this one, take this one and change this one to Religions, and we're just going to call this Religions, let's call this Religions Layout. Probably is a better name for that. And then this one is going to be Religion Detail, and we'll rename this one later, but for now we'll end up copying and pasting this one and more, because this Religion Detail will end up becoming our separate details for each of the 8 major religions that we're going to study. Okay, so for our splash page, we're going to just do something really simple. We're going to have basically a title and a button. So I'm just going to start off with my text tool here and draw a little text. And I'm just going to type in World Religions. And I'm just going to do something like World Religions Explained. And we're going to change the size of that. You'll notice that over here on the right-hand side, I have my options tools and things for making this, sending this, my text. So I'm going to change my font size to something pretty large. So we're going to go 48, see how big that is. Not big enough. Maybe do something like 56. How about 72? There we go. Let's go 72, something pretty large. And here we can play around with our different sizing, our character spacing. So I could spread our characters out a little bit. So if I want to go like 1 point, expand that out, or 5 pixels, expand that out. And I can change the font type. These are all my different font options. I'm just going to go ahead and leave this as a pretty simple title page. Okay. And then next, and eventually we might add, say, something like a background image to this later on. But for now, we're just going to leave it as World Religions Explained. It's just going to be a wireframe. So I want to add a shape. I want to add a button. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a button right in here. And on this button, I'm going to go ahead and add some rounded corners. And so I'm going to do 25. Let's see, 25 might be too much. No, 25 is good. 25%. We can do 25% all the way around. So we have a round button. And we can fill this later. We can play around with the fill and the border color and all that kind of stuff later. Just going to do something really simple. I'm going to put a text box in the middle, and this text box is just going to say click for now. Move my move tool here, grab my click button, I'm going to center it. Notice that when I move stuff around, what's nice about XD is it tells you where things are at, whether it's centered within your button or not. So eventually this will be for someone to click in there. It will be a button that somebody will be able to click. I'm going to go ahead and make this just lowercase. Okay. All right. So that's just basically our splash page. That's all we're going to do with our splash page. And again, we're going to go back and we're going to make this look better. We're just doing a wireframe now so that we could see where we want to put everything. Okay. And then I'm going to scroll down here. And so the next thing is we're going to do kind of a grid layout. In fact, maybe that's what we should name this. Religions grid, like that. Okay, so we're going to do a grid layout throughout. And so what I'm going to do is we need to divide this up. I think we're going to do 4 across and 2 rows. So, and then I kind of want to leave a room. I want to leave room for, you know what? No, we don't. We don't want to leave room for a title page or at the top. So I'm going to just kind of do something like a square like that. And then just grab my move tool. And if I just hit the Alt key, I can just bring these across just like that. And we can kind of play around our spacing there. We could probably make these a little bit bigger, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and shift click all of these. And then what I can do here is I can repeat grid. And then I can just, so see I did that group grid there. And what's cool about this tool is I just drop this down and look, I'm just revealing part of that grid. Isn't that awesome? So click on this again and I can ungroup this grid. And then I can just shift click. I can shift click this group and then drop this down a little bit further if I need some room down in there. I'm going to want to put text in there later on. I can also space these out more evenly. So if I bring these out, look how easy that is. We're going to kind of make sure that those are all spaced out evenly. We're going to bring these to about the same spot. Isn't that so cool? And then we're going to take our text tool and then we're going to start putting in some titles here. So this will be title 1. We're just going to do title. And I think we're going to need to resize that. So I'm going to notice how it says right over here, it gives us some hinting right there. I'm going to change our size down here to something that's a little more manageable. We're going to go, let's go 24 font. It's a little small. Zoom in here a little bit. Let's go 36. And these, we might have some big words here. So we're just going to go ahead and leave it as it is. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that Alt key again and click and drag. And we're just going to drag that title box to each one of those pieces. And drop those in. And then I'm going to see if the grid thing's going to work for us. So repeat grid. And see if nope, that's not what I want to do. Okay, we're going to ungroup that grid, and then we're going to alt-click the whole thing. Oops, I'm going to shift-click, and then alt-click, and then drag those titles down, and position them so they are about the same. There we go. A little pink mark tells me where those are going to be. Ah, shoot. It didn't do the whole thing. Okay, let's just do this. I think we can group these together. But let's just go ahead and Control C and then Control V. And then there we go. Let's do it that way. Boom. So now I've got my titles in there. So each one of these will be an image to represent that religion. And then we'll have the titles for each one of those as well. Okay. So we've got our splash page wireframed. Our second religions grid wireframed, These will end up being buttons eventually, so we might make those buttons later on, but we're just going to go ahead and leave those as the title for right now. We'll make those buttons later on. And then we're going to come down here to our religion detail, and we're going to make a sheet here to show our religion. Okay, so on my religion detail page, we need to kind of plan this out just a little bit more than, say, these other guys right up here, our splash page and our grid layout page. So I want to come back to our assignment and look at the different things that we looked at. And we looked at how, what's our place in the world? How can we live the right way? How do we pray? What happens to us after we die? That's all information that you guys found and put together. And so what I want to be able to do is create a detail page that showcases all of those things. So we know we're going to need some type of title up here in the top. So we're going to do maybe a title. And I think what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make this centered in our page. And the cool thing about XD is that we can always come back and tweak our design. This is what's so neat about doing this as a design project instead of, say, going and coding this by hand. So we have our title up at the top. And then I think on the left-hand side, this is where I might want to put like an image to the left and something that's probably maybe like portrait. So kind of something like that. And I can go ahead and give this a different fill if I want to remember that this is going to be later on filled with an image. And I can drop the opacity down. I like to do that a lot of times when I do an image placeholder. Drop that opacity down. So I know that's what's going to go there eventually. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter return there. Okay. And then we have those individual sections, and I think that's going to determine how we want to set that up. So I'm going to click on my text tool. And I know I have those 4 questions, and I don't want that to be size 72, so I'm going to change that to maybe something like, let's go 36 point font. And we can always adjust this with bold and all that kind of stuff later. But let's go, I want to do it as that question, so go back to our instructions. What's our place in the world? Looks like that we still got our 72 point font here, so I'm going to highlight that again and change that to 36. What's our place in the world? Question mark. And so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this section just like that is. And you know what? I think I want to do these as bold or something like that, just so I remember that later on. So over in my font section over here, let's see, there's regular right there. Let me check bold. And then I'm just going to hit my Alt key, grab my move tool. So if you hit the V key, Control Z. Let's see, hit the V key, there we go. And hit the Alt key, and then duplicate those. So we got our 4 questions. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that those are the right questions so I don't forget that. So what's our place in the world? How can we live the right way? Tab over. How do we pray? And what happens to us after we die? So those are our different questions. And so what I need to do, we need to put our text in there somehow. We need to put some filler text in there so that we can just replace it later on if we want to. So what I'm going to do is, let's see here. I think I want to move these away from each other just a little bit more. So I kind of want to position these just a little bit further apart. And I also want these to all be left aligned, not centered. And there we go. So are those pretty close? Pretty even? Let's see here. Tells us our values right there. So that tells us that's the right spacing. That tells us that's the right spacing. They're about 150 pixels apart. In fact, I believe if we, let's see we have our X and Y coordinates over here. We can actually tell it to be exact dimensions if we want to, but we're going to go ahead and leave it that way for now. And let's see, from here, let's go ahead and grab our text tool again. And we're going to place a box, and we're going to make this semi-long. And what I want to do is see if I can insert, if I remember, I thought there was a way to insert some ipsum lorem text, but I don't know. I will have to look that up later, but I think there is a way in XD to put in some ipsum lorem text to fit what that is. Wonder if I right click on here. Nope. My text box keeps going away. Nope, not what I want. Okay, let's just do this the old-fashioned way. It's going to try to see if we could make this work. So I'm going to go open up in a new tab here real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for ipsum dolor. Just like that. And it's going to take us to our ipsum generator. And all I want is just one paragraph for each one of those, just to hold some text for now. So I'm just going to grab that paragraph, and I may end up taking some of that paragraph out. So I just Control-C, Control-V that, draw our box, and then paste that in there. Too much. So let's make sure that we change that to something that's more manageable, like a 14-point font. Oops, we have to highlight that. And let's see, 14. And let's not make that bold. Let's just make that regular. Okay. Might be a little bit small for our dimensions here. So let's go ahead and make that 16-point font. There we go. Let's go ahead and copy that. So I'm going to grab my move tool again, hit the Alt key, and we're just going to drag that down so that it fits underneath those sections, just like that. Okay, so this is our religion detail page. We will make it look a little bit nicer for now, but this is just our wireframe. Let's go back to our religion grid, because what I want to show you, this is going to be this is the power of this. So now that I have my religion detail page, I could come in here and click on this detail page, and then with the Alt key again, just drag. Hang on just a sec. There we go. Got to do it on you got to do it on the title. So hit the Alt key and then click and drag that. And now we have our second page. And I could do that for all 8 of those details. I'm only going to do the 2 for now. And if you zoom out, you can kind of see your flow here. In fact, what we could do, if you want to make this a little bit easier to see, you can bring these up here so that you can kind of see them all spread out. So if I take my religion detail, copy one, and then make that another one, and then make that a 4th one, and then we could probably just grab all 4 of these, just like so, and then hit Alt again on the same title, and then bring all those down. So now I have all 8 detail pages already laid out. Isn't that cool? Okay, so let's go back to this page here. And remember how we talked about making these buttons? Okay, so I want to just do this as a button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that square tool again, and I'm going to make a square. Oops, Control Z that. There's my button, and it's over the top, so what I want it to do is I want it to go behind that title. And I need to resize that. Probably should have made the button first before we did the text. So I'm going to click on that, and I should be able to send it backwards. No, it's not letting me do that. Oh, I see what's going on. Something is linked here. I'm going to delete that button here. I want to ungroup those. Probably because I copied and pasted those. I know there's a way to fix this. Oops. Bring to front. There we go. And let's see. Don't want those to be grouped. Okay. Let's see if I can draw my box in there. Okay, let's right click on that and then send backwards. There we go. I think what happened here, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start that over with this whole section, because I think I probably should have made these all buttons in the first place. So get rid of that. Let's start from the beginning. Let's go ahead and make that round. There we go. Get all four corners in there. Let's go ahead and put our title in there. And then I'm going to highlight that and make that a little bit bigger. Let's make that 24. 36. And let's go ahead and move that. Position it more in the middle there. And we'll go ahead and make that a centered button anyway. And hopefully, so if we need to, say, make this one Christianity, it should just spread out and fill that area. So what we're going to do is just go back to title there. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to group these two things together. So I'm going to grab my move tool and hit the shift key. And so I've got both of those things selected, the title and the button. And then I'm going to right click and I'm just going to group those. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, what I just did there earlier. And now I can come through and alt click and then just copy these all the way across. And I want to keep these separate, so I'm not going to make that mistake that I made earlier by trying to save myself some time. So I'm just going to go ahead. There we go. Okay, so now here's the fun part about, and you know what, these are all images. So I think what I want to do with those as well is change those fills to that yellow color that I selected earlier. And drop that opacity way down. So I know that those will be, and notice that when I'm doing one, it's filling it in for all of them. It's pretty sweet. And then let's go to fill again, and yellow, and then opacity way down. Okay. So from here, this is what I want to, this is what I'm really stoked to show you guys. I'm going to go ahead and save this real quick before I move forward. So how are we going to make this look and act like a website? Okay. Because if you look at our kind of flow here, our splash page will go to our religions grid. And then each one of these religions pieces is going to go to a detail page. So let's go ahead and do this one first. I'm going to show you how this will work. I'm going to go ahead and group these two buttons together again. So right click, group. Okay, and I'm going to click on that, and what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to prototype. And this is how you're going to link things up. So it's going to show you kind of like how we do this, okay? So this button right here, we do this little click and grab thing, and it's going to dock, and it's going to tell us we're linked to this. And also notice that we have a little bit of options here for what we can do with, you know, like how it transitions from one to the next. It's pretty sweet. So then from here, we can do the same thing. So we come down here, let's go ahead and zoom out. So Control minus or Command minus. And from that button, I can link it to detail 1, and then detail 2, and then detail 3, and then detail 4, and then detail 5, and on and on and on. So this will, when we prototype it, you're going to see how this is going to look in just a minute. So all of these now are linked. Okay, and then what I can do from there is I can preview this. So if I click on this, it'll show me what's linked where. So these are all links to the different sections, okay? So if I go over here to hit preview, it's going to preview it as a web page. And right there where I have the button, if I click on that, it's going to go to our detail page, or our grid page. And if I click on title, it's going to take us to our previous page. Now you notice that what we don't have right now, and where we're broken, is we don't have any type of menu option to go back. So we're going to have to address that. But we're going to do that in another video when we develop our religions page further.